Do you want to become the best manager you can be and stand out from your peers as a great leader and manager? I'll explain how to do that in this video. Hello, I'm Stephen Goldberg of Optimus Performance, bringing you practical tips and ideas on leadership, team development, and employee performance in the workplace. One of my most popular videos is titled The Responsibilities of a Manager. And in that I cover different components, responsibilities of a manager. And I'm going to cover that again today with some updated information and some new twists. So you may want to check out that video as well. I'll put a link to it. But this video will cover most of what I said in that previous video. I also have a form that you could download. It's a training needs analysis for a manager, but it covers all the responsibilities. I'm going to go through this list in this video and comment on that. And it's something that you should probably download and use to better understand where your strengths and weaknesses are. Now, the first thing I want to say is that in order to execute on what I'm going to share with you today, you need to be supported by your company. In other words, you need to understand the culture and the values of your company in terms of being a manager and know what they expect from you in order to be able to have the time, the authority, the support to act on what I'm going to be sharing with you and assume the responsibilities of a manager. Not every company sees things the same way in terms of a manager. And I say that because I've seen over the years people promoted to manager positions in their department. Maybe they're a great customer service person and now the company is growing and they need a supervisor or manager. Terms, titles are different, but the roles are the same pretty much. So often what happens is somebody gets promoted, but the company still expects them to do a certain amount of work. Let's say customer service, maybe they expect them to keep certain clients that are key clients and serve them directly while still being able to manage and supervise the rest of the team. So that's kind of like a hybrid manager position. But today I'm going to talk about the full responsibility of a manager and what that entails, and then you could see how that fits with the company that you're working for. Now, one thing, the first item I'm going to talk about is assuming your inherent responsibilities, and I'll list those responsibilities afterwards. But when you become a manager, there's certain things that come with the turf. It's kind of like parents. When you go from being parentless to a parent in one day, right? All of a sudden you have that baby in your life and everything shifts, everything changes, and now your responsibilities will shift as well because your inherent responsibility is to care and provide for that child and secure its life because it can't do that on its own. So the same thing with the manager. You go from maybe being an employee and all of a sudden you become a manager, a supervisor, and now you have these new responsibilities. Maybe it's not often clear what those are, so I'm going to outline them for you, but that's your responsibility. You have to understand that and assume it the best way you can. So that's the first point, taking responsibility to assume your inherent, what comes with the job that I'm going to talk about. So I'm going to read from this list, putting on my glasses. I need these now. So the first thing is planning. Now, in that previous video, I talked about having a balance between the skills of the job and the people skills. So I'm going to perhaps refer to that as well. And the job skills as a manager, the first one is planning. And so you need to plan, put in place plans according to what the strategies or the objectives of the company are. You need to define plans to help or to achieve those goals, those objectives of the company within your department, within your area of responsibility. So that means goal setting, planning. You need time to do that. And this, again, is not often accorded to managers enough. So you need to also, once you have your plans, organize, make sure you have the proper people, the staffing. So you should be involved in decisions regarding team members, regarding new hires. This is something that's not often or always given to managers, maybe partial responsibility or partly involved in the decision making. But ultimately, the performance of the people you hire will reflect on you. So you need to be part of that decision-making process. And of course, organizing means scheduling work hours if you have shifts or whatever. The next thing is leads. So you need to be also a leader, not just a manager. And that means tap into your creativity, be innovative to find new ways to do things, be a doer, take action. You know, the expression, I can't hear what you say because your actions speak too loud. So you want your actions to be those of a leader and walk the talk for your team members. Communicates, you need to always be communicating both to your people, whoever you report to your peers, to create that teamwork from one department to the other, and also to your direct reports. Control, you need to have measures to measure productivity, to measure quality, to evaluate performance, KPIs. This is part of making sure that you're on track to realize your plans. Human relations, you need to foster, again, human relations, both up, sideways, and down across all relationships. So you need to develop your ability, your interpersonal skills to communicate with people, to be a good listener. Those are really important attributes, especially today, of a leader, because the better you are at balancing your human relationship skills, the greater trust and appreciation you're going to have from especially the people report to you. You need to create a climate of motivation where people are happy to work with you. They want to give their best. And there's elements that you could put in place that will foster that motivation. You want to develop the right leadership style, which involves understanding each person, knowing how to approach them, also creating a participative leadership style. I talk a lot about that in videos because that's what's going to drive teamwork as well. So you could check out my playlist on leadership. I also have one on leadership styles. Very important. Self-improvement. This is key, that as the company grows responsibilities, if you want to be the best manager you can be, you have to work on your skill set. I often refer to Benjamin Franklin, who was a great diplomat, a great leader, and he had a methodology to always keep self-improving. He worked on 13 different personal improvements a year, one at a time over like a 30-day, or I forget exactly how many days, but then he would go on to the next one. The next responsibility is performance appraisals. So people need feedback. They need to know how they're doing. and they need to get assessed, and there needs to be a discussion about that. I have many videos on how to do that. I have a demonstration on that. Training is a huge one. As a manager, supervisor, you're responsible to train your employees, and that means on all aspects of their work. So their skills, technical skills, job skills, make sure they're up to date with changes in tools, in technology, but also on the interpersonal side so that they can collaborate better with one another. So you're responsible for that. Whether you deliver the training yourself or you bring in specialists to help you, you need to evaluate what are the training needs and continuously plan new training programs. Team building. Training could encompass team building as well. It's a great way to both train people and create that collaboration. There's other things you can do for team building as well, and one of them is problem solving sessions where you get your team members involved in continuous improvement, in meetings. Progressively you analyze how things are being done, processes, and you have them involved in making recommendations, in diagnosing and coming up with better solutions. And this could also be a team building activity, but obviously you could also do social things, you could do outdoor games or whatever, but you need to have that as part of your thinking and planning. Would be team building. Problem solving, I mentioned that. It's important that you learn the techniques of problem solving for yourself, but also for as a team exercise, so that this will foster engagement and motivate people. Preventative practices is another one. So this revolves often around health and safety. You want to maybe educate people on better healthy life habits so that you don't suffer from absenteeism because people are getting ill too often. Making decisions, you have to learn how to make good decisions in a timely fashion. And I have an exercise on that called the T exercise for decision making. Check that out in my list of videos. I think I even have a downloadable worksheet for that. Delegation is another one. If you don't have time, if you find yourself having to step in for employees, well, maybe you haven't delegated properly. Delegating will empower people, free up time for you, but it has to be done properly. It's different from assigning work to somebody. Delegation means, or often involves, training people. I have many videos on that as well. Quality. You need to set quality standards and communicate those so people know what those standards are. And the clearer people are, the more independent they can be or autonomous. And you need to spell out what are the quality factors that the company or whatever you're working on, whether it's delivering a service or a product, quality needs to be established. Productivity, you need to look at how you can continuously improve productivity and again involve people in that discussion. And finally, be an action-orientated supervisor or manager and always be innovating, be taking action to address issues and not let things just fall by the wayside or foster in oblivion. So those are the key responsibilities of a manager. You could download this worksheet. I'll put a link in the description. And actually you could discuss that with your boss to see where you need to improve, Because once you discuss it with your boss, then you can get the support you need to act on it. Now, one thing that's very important is that you need to understand yourself and what your personality traits, your behavioral approach, how it will affect your ability to assume those responsibilities. Because if you're a very high-driven person that's very action-oriented, maybe you might have some issues with time management because you're maybe impatient with analysis or different things. Maybe if you're the type of person that wants to help everybody in your department, maybe you're just being too nice to people and letting people get away with things, because sometimes people will want to get away with things. So you need to understand what are your challenges, what are your strengths, what are your challenges, and how you could address that. And that's where having that discussion with your boss would also help. So it's important to be aligned with the culture of the company, the outlook of your boss as well, so that you can totally assume your responsibilities and be able to best manage the people side and the job skills side, the planning, the organizing, scheduling, the technology. That's all part of the job skills, the functioning of the department. But then you need to have those people skills to be able to motivate people, lead by example, and get people to collaborate together. So that's my message. I just wanted to give you this update, adding that, making sure you're clear on what's expected from you, from your company, and that way you could get the support you need and become the best manager you could be. So I hope you find this useful and that you'll act on it. How you can act on it is to download this worksheet, reflect on it, have a meeting with your boss about it, and start working on your personal improvement plan. If you haven't already subscribed, do so now. Turn on notifications so you get news of new videos. Thank you for listening, and we'll talk again soon.